some other areas where we can see some differences. If everybody looks at that green structure, you can see the word amygdala. That is a structure deep in the central part of our brain, which helps us process threats. So anytime that you might perceive a threat, your amygdala is going to fire, and what's going to happen is it's going to alert the entire brain that we're potentially under threat. So it's a good thing to have. It sets off hormonal activation such as cortisol. It sets off neurochemical activation such as norepinephrine. And this is when this fires, Jason, what happens is our heart starts beating fast, our lungs expand, we're processing more oxygen into the lungs, our muscles get more blood flow, particularly in the biceps and the thighs, because we're either going to fight or we're going to flee, which tends to be a male sort of response to stress. Interestingly, females tend not to flee or fight. They tend to take the stressor in and work with the stressor, which is a difference, and might account for why females, one of the reasons, still today tend to live longer than men on average several years. But interestingly, the male has a larger amygdala than the female.
Interesting.
Now, right next door to the amygdala is that purple structure, and this is just for training purposes. It's really not purple in the brain. It's called the hippocampus, and I have often talked about the hippocampus being the most important structure in our body. Okay, it's not the heart. Cardiologists get mad at me. It ain't the heart. It's the hippocampus, because that's where we lay down our life story. It's where we learn new information. It's where we encode information. And interestingly here, the hippocampus is larger in females than in men. And I wonder how many times men, you've gotten yourselves into some trouble out there because your female partner is asking you to remember something that was very important to her. What was the color of her dress that she wore on the anniversary night? Who was involved at the dinner table at that very important meeting? And men sometimes will struggle with that, but trust me, women will hang on to details much longer than men. And to try to have some fun, you know, because we got to laugh a little bit. Sometimes men and women will get into a bit of a tussle because the man's not coming up with the right answers. And there's probably a reason for that. The other interesting thing I want to point out here is that when the amygdala fires, remember that perceives threat, stress reaction in the body, it shuts off the hippocampus. And so maybe that's one of the reasons why men don't remember those details quite as well. But anytime that we're experiencing anxiety, and this isn't a male-female thing, but anytime we're experiencing anxiety or panic, or we ruminate, or we just feel distressed, we're not going to remember as well. And oftentimes, Jason, folks have come into my office, they may literally think they have Alzheimer's because Alzheimer's hits the hippocampus and we don't remember very well. But it really, interestingly, it's more times than not Alzheimer's. It's that a person is so busy, particularly boomers or boomers that are aging into latter lifespan. They're juggling 1,000 different plates. They don't really know how to relax or settle down or bring balance to their brain. And so they complain of memory problems. And so part of the therapy there, part of the treatment is to get them to have a bit more balance.